An interested viewer wants to know if his friend can borrow his gun. We'll talk about that in just a minute. We have a super secret giveaway going on right now, but it ends really soon. If you want to enter for your chance to win this long distance hole puncher absolutely free, click the link in the description down below. And I'm here with noted criminal defense attorney Tom Grieve. Tom, two things before we even start. First of all, I'm going to beat you to the punch and say check your local listings. And secondly, I want to know what this friend wants to do with that gun, because that has a lot to do with if you're going to give someone a gun.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like Saturday night, midnight, they're wearing a ski mask, and they referenced someone being the getaway driver, probably not loaning them the gun.
Don't give them the gun.
That's free. That one's on me, guys. Don't do it, all right? This side of that, look, okay, so there's a handful of things. Number one, exactly what you just said, check your local listings. Are you in some sort of state where there's, there has to be, I'm not going to call it registration, but there's a person, there's a firearm, it's connected somehow on paper somewhere.
Yeah, I know,
right?
Michigan
has their issues, Illinois,
New
maybe,
Mexico and
right.
things like that are very specific about the guns you can carry. So,
Right.
so state laws page, go uscca.com/laws and figure out if you can do that in your state. But then,
So my first question is going to be, what were you planning on using it for? Like, is this hunting? Are you looking for a rifle, a shotgun? Is this for self-defense? I'm assuming that the person is of legal age and they're not a prohibited possessor.
Right.
Right. So let's just rule those out right off the bat. So they're of lawful age. There's no age issues, and there's no PP. There's no prohibited possessor issues. Right. And we're just kind of in a, two friends. No one's intoxicated. There's no illegal substances involved or anything like that. That
just
would
going
also,
to the range.
Right. We're just, hey, they want to borrow it to go to the range. Okay. If someone wants to borrow a handgun, go to the range, and there's no laws that are being broken, and I know that person is going to be safe, they know the rules of firearm safety. I've been to the range before. I'm not just literally handing a firearm to someone who doesn't know what they're doing and therefore contributing to what can foreseeably be a very bad situation. Lawyers have a word for that. It's called negligence.
Yes.
Just so you're aware. It's that ugly N word, okay? Sometimes if they make it much worse, they call it gross negligence. Okay?
And then you can really get in trouble both criminally and civilly, can't you?
Judges frown on that. Insurance companies won't like you. It can be a bad situation. So to kind of recap, we need to make sure it's no laws being broken, okay? We need to make sure that their intentions are proper, right? And then we need to make sure that, they have the proper education and training that where I know that they're going to be a safe person, right? If we check all those boxes, then we're into discretionary zone of, do you trust them to not drop your whatever it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to go one step further in figuring out why this person wants your gun, because folks out there, if somebody says, hey, I need a gun, I'm being harassed, you can maybe reasonably believe that this gun might be used in a self-defense incident. Even if it's 100% legal, you're probably going to lose that gun to evidence for a while if they have to use it in a self-defense incident. So if we take it to the next step and you loan your gun to a trusted friend who knows what they're doing, they just don't have a gun.
Right.
And that person uses the gun 100% perfectly legally in a self-defense incident, where are you sitting?
Well, the bottom line is you have involved yourself in a potential murder situation. That's the bottom line here, okay? And depending upon the formulations of your particular state, does that make you an accessory to murder? Does that give you some sort of, is there an opening for the prosecutor to go after you on, okay? Because if there is, if your friend does something wrong, don't think for a second that your name will not be coming up prominently in discussions of, hey, so can we tag that guy with a felony too?
Yeah.
Right? Can we give him 2 years prison? Just kind of like to tie this case off, right? So look, I'm not saying don't help your friend. What I am saying is be mindful of the situations you're involving yourself in and how far they may ultimately go, because it could be well beyond what you're intending.
Yeah, we're talking about situations that, like you say, can land people in prison for many, many years. And that question's always going to be asked. Where did the person get the gun?
Right.
And if the person got the gun from you and prosecutor says, well, you knowingly gave this guy a gun who you should have known he was going to use it to shoot someone else. Life gets really difficult at that point.
Yeah, your life will be noticeably more complicated as you meet with attorneys, attend court dates, post bail.
Yeah.
You know, minor life complications may ensue. But again, I am in no way, shape, or form saying never loan a firearm out. I'm just saying that there's a bunch of criteria that are, for me, preconditions before I would even consider that, number one. And then number two, you have to acknowledge the risk and the liability that you are entering into. And I'm not suggesting that that's necessarily fair. I'm saying that's real life.
Yeah.
And you need to acknowledge that and be comfortable with those risks, because you're jumping into, I don't want to call it a shark tank, but you're putting yourself in a legal landscape with known issues that could arise out there, and you may find yourself entangled in something very different than what you thought you were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like a very simple question, but as always, a lot more topics come up. So thank you for being part of this, and thanks for helping out.
Of course.
Want to know the 3 biggest mistakes when carrying a handgun? Then click on the video next to me to reveal all 3 mistakes. Mistake number 2 may shock you. Everybody has their own cardinal rules for what they're going to do when they're carrying a gun, but right now I'm going to give you 3 things that you must never do